But before I ask you about AI and how it's playing a role in technology, because it usually goes technology and then it goes out to the application. So they give it to someone like you and say, how will you use this with your product and how can you make it better for the coaches and the golfer and the consumer that's using it? But as far as I want to ask you so more people can get a better understanding again, who might not know what force plates are, in particular dual force plates. And we said that it measures the forces. But can you just give a little more description on how you guys develop your product and the importance of dual force plates versus just one?
First, very simple. I mean, you got 2 feet, so you got 2 feet touching the ground. So you want to measure individually what each foot is doing
Mm-hmm.
in your golf swing. So the single plate only measure the total force combined from both feet. So it doesn't tell you what both feet are doing individually in the golf swing. To resume it like this.
And I had to imagine it was very eye-opening, or when you showed this to a lot of coaches to say and players to say, okay, look, we're not knocking who did this because they obviously came up with a
Mhm.
very good idea to make one force
Mhm.
plate, but let us show you the difference in the dual and the amount of information that you're getting from that, and then how you can utilize it to help your students. I mean, they had to be blown away by that.
Oh yeah. I mean, let's go back to the beginning, Pete, first.
Okay.
When we found smart, we're gonna be 10 years, by the way, next year. So we survived that growth as a tech company in a niche market, which is ground reaction forces in the golf industry. So back 10 years ago, when we launched Smart to Move, basically when we found Smart to Move, we came on the market with basically the first fully wireless and portable 1D dual force plate at that time. Um, and we were at the time where everybody was talking about pressure. There was pressure mat, there was different model. One blue mat was green and blue that was very successful on the market. The whole industry has been educated about pressure and
Mm-hmm.
weight shift. So you have to understand that back at that time when we came with that technology, and I was talking with Jean-Paul, and he said, hey, we're going to sell a ton. That's going to be great. This is the golf industry. We went to our first PGA show, and we were facing a reality is that the market was uneducated on ground reaction forces. That was the first fact. Everybody was talking about pressure, and that has that has been for a few years actually. After first year 2015, 16, 17, 18, and then slowly there was an awareness of ground reaction forces. The waves start to grow up, to get up bigger actually. But this is where we start. We start in a pressure educative environment. So we immediately realized that, wow, we need to conduct education. So the first thing we start to do is to spend money traveling all over the world. And again, as I mentioned before, someone that really helped us at the beginning in that process was someone in the name of Mike Adams, called the teacher of the teacher. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful of what he has done with us. He definitely bring us with him, traveling all over the world, because the word he was spreading, or is still spreading at the moment, is about individualities, swing individualities. And as you mentioned at the beginning, everybody use a combination of lateral, rotational, vertical. They all use those three forces. And this is exactly what Mike was teaching. So our product completely fit what his amazing coach has done in his whole career, actually. And
Yeah. So that as you looked at that and you said, okay, we have this product, but now we got to go. We started from the beginning and created this, but now we've got to go back even further to educate everybody on it. Was that a oh shit
yes.
moment? Like, oh my gosh, we're all ready to take this and just
Alors,
blow it up in a
alors,
good way, and now we got to go
alors
backwards.
that's even. I'm gonna tell you what was the first business model of Smart to Move. So back in 2000, Huh. Back in 2012, 2013, 14, I'm sure you remember there was the big wave in the Silicon Valley with all the wearable technology.
Mm-hmm.
So there was those apps popping up everywhere on the market, connecting to a device that can measure everything. You had in your shoes, you had on your wrist, you had on your body, you had all of those type. They were raising like millions of dollars. Those startups is similar model as the web.com early 2000. You remember?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was a bubble. And Actually, I was in Switzerland and I had an opportunity actually to develop pressure insole that you put in the shoes. Actually, smart to move, we were the first company in the golf industry, as long as I know, that market the first fully integrate pressure insole that you put in your shoes, connect to a smartphone.
Wow.
And the company, yes, back in 2015. And we've done the CES, Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas as well. Um, so basically, the business model was we developed the pressure insole at a price point at that time was 250 to something. We did a Kickstarter campaign at that time as well to finance that project. And on parallel, we also developed, because the company in south of France, we design and manufacture the insole. As that piece of technology, force play, they say, yeah, we don't know what to do with it, and say, look, let's do that with it. Let's take it with it. The force plate gonna be the B2B product for the golf professional, and the golf professional gonna resell the insole to the consumers, to their student, to measure their pressure. Because to be honest with you, at the beginning, even myself, I had no clue what mean force, what mean a force plate, and and I don't know if I should say that. I even don't know what was a biomechanist. Someone told me you need a biomechanist in your team. That's why uh, I met Jean Paul, first employee of the company at that time, back early 2015. And yeah, now I've got a couple of PhD of biomechanics working for us on different segments in the company. I know what is a biomechanist. And we got a couple of medical professionals as well. So anyway, that was the original business model. B2B product, force plate, and the pressure insole. The pressure insole, that was we failed on that one. We failed, and basically that was a good learning path on that one.
Yeah, I was going to say you might have failed commercially, but you had to learn a ton of what to do, what not to do, how to adjust, pivot to get to where you are today.
Yeah, definitely. No, but to come back to your original question on that one, yeah, I mean, as software pressure, it's measuring pressure. We had an app on the smartphone with the camera based, and we start to market. We start delivering the first batch of insole, and we had golf professional and consumer. They were asking us, even golf professional, which was shocking. I mean, if you look at the past few decades of golf literature, everybody's talking about weight shift, pressure shift,
Mm-hmm.
and the golf professional is asking us, yeah, but what do we do with the data?
Hmm.
Very interesting. And they say, look, at that time, I remember there was and there was that beautiful article in Golf Digest from Sean Foley, actually. He was coaching Tiger, and he was in the front page talking, you need to be 50-50, 75 at
Yes,
top of the swing, or whatever,
I remember that.
what was mentioned in that article. That was focused on pressure. And say, look at the article. He's the coach of Tiger Woods. This is what we want to measure. And I was definitely not on individualities, force, lateral, rotational, vertical at that time. So we were facing a reality: the market is uneducated on ground reaction forces. That was a fact. That was a fact. And the other thing that I will advise to everyone: never invest money in something you put in your shoes. For the simple reason is, first, you're gonna lose money, and the second reason, we don't measure the pressure of your feet in your shoes. We want to measure the force that you apply into the ground. On the ground, give you back.
So is there some loss of efficiency due to the sole, uh, be it leather, rubber, composite, whatever it is in the sole of a shoe?
Yeah, there is different. Now I know there is different company. They have been on that segment. I don't know what they are doing. There was Samsung with a spin-off at that time. There was IOFIT, then they rebrand Salt. I think there is a German as well. They are trying to go into that segment. Some are also using the fact that, hell, it's a fraction of the price of a force plate. Say, oh, wait, it's not doing the same as a force plate. But anyway, there is different things. I mean, first you need to ask the player to remove the shoes, put the technology in the shoes. That's one hurdle. The second thing, this is something you get in your shoes. You need to pair it with your smartphone. You're also dealing with in technology something that I've learned, because I was a single golf professional on the driving range, very successful, very happy with what I was doing. And thinking I was knowing that I was doing good as well, before using force plate. And the other thing is, you dealing with the customer, you dealing with the, excuse me, you dealing with the customer support. So
Mm,
basically, and you're facing a reality that people are calling you not how to use the force plate, but how do I pair it to my smartphone.
interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, very much so.
So anyway, we had that for 2 years, and then we definitely shift to the force plate, because the reality come to you that force create motion, force precede the motion, and we need to, and force are invisible. We need to measure force. At that time, we had a 1D force plate measuring only the vertical forces. So we were running the world, educating people about timing of the vertical, when it should happen, point of application,
Hmm.
and different shape of the curve, and the relationship between the curve and the muscle activation, and individualities of the player.
That's very cool. Um, you had mentioned you were collecting all this data, but everybody said, "Well, what are you going to do with it?" Has there been what was some of the most eye-opening things that you and everybody in the company, and then you were dealing with consultants like a Mike Adams or biomechanist? What was some of the most interesting or eye-popping data that you were able to uh, realize once you started breaking it down and looking at it in more detail? And you weren't just so focused on collecting it. Now you have this mountain of data, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, how did we miss this before? What was it?" You're a busy person. But when you started looking at that mountain of data that you had, was there anything that was eye-popping for you and your team and those that you were working with that was like, "Wow, this is really this is going to be groundbreaking."
Alors, let's make it simple, because I mean, for Jean Paul, as a biomechanist that use force plate since decade, I mean that other biomechanics, other way things are obvious. I mean, at some point you have to come to a consensus. I mean, we were traveling all over the world. We have to address the information a certain way. I mean, first to be digestible by the audience, by golf professional. I mean, you don't want to go dive into science. I had a chance to run all over the world with Jean Paul. Now we have other biomechanics. Can name some. Dr. Tyler Standyfield, for example,
Hmm.
from Utah Valley. That is a big part of our education program. Actually, I mean, you can really lose your soul in biomechanics. So our goal is to have a fundamental of biomechanics, an ignition of biomechanics, and the second part is, how to analyze the data and how those data can be benefic. Uh, and how do I transfer those information to my student? So the recipe is very, very simple. We can call that the performance pie. The first thing you want to measure with a force plate is simple. You talk about the three forces, the timing. When the maximum peak force happen at peak lateral, rotational, and vertical. We know that when the timing is respected, we call that the kinetic sequence. The timing of the force, we know that the player all along the swing, from top of the swing to impact, will optimize the transfer of energy from the ground up to the body and to the ball, and to the club, and then to the ball. As a resultant, the ball gonna fly longer if he center it on the club face.
Hmm.
That's the part of the launch monitor. They measure club delivery and ball flight data. First, the timing. That's the first recipe. Second thing, and this is also where you realize where some are hitting the threshold on lateral, rotational, and vertical. So that gives you a good indication. Oh, this guy is more lateral. This guy is more rotational. This guy is more vertical. Then we look at the point of force application, where you do apply that force under your feet, because that is directly related to your muscle chain.
Hmm. In
Yes.
what way? Could you explain that a little more? How it's related to your muscle,
Oh,
to the
very
chain?
simple. If you jump from the ball of your feet or you jump from your heel, what's going to happen?
Hmm.
And
And
repeat.
is there one that you find? Is it per individual, or is it one that is tends
For
to be better
everyone.
than the other?
It's
So it varies.
universal. It's
Okay.
universal.